Good morning. Happy Friday to everyone. Stay tuned if you're scrolling because my guest I'm about to bring on, Tony Sherman, Anthony T. Sherman, author, soon to be turned into a movie, also an artist and a local Houstonian. Is going to share his magic. If you've ever thought about writing a book, and I think we all have a book inside of us somewhere, it's just when we decide to put it pen to paper. So Tony's going to take out some of the mystery and share with us how he got into writing and a little bit about his journey. So stay tuned. If you can't watch now, you can watch it on the flip side. If you don't know me, I'm Kat Trelinos Flong with Taught by Kat, Next Level Staging and Design, and host of Kat's Home Chat. And we have changed our format to the second and fourth Friday of every month. So you don't want to miss it. We're going to have some awesome guests lined up for February. We are going to kind of lace in our topic about love, the greatest thing in the world. About love and see where that takes us. So you want to tune in on the 28th, I believe it is, of February. So without further ado, let me bring in my guest. Tony, welcome. And we have a little bit of delay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining me, Tony. It's been a pleasure. You and I have known each other for a while. You have many talents, and I don't want to take a lot of time away from the topic today, but Tony and I go way back, and amongst his many talents, he's also a developer, a builder, et cetera. So we met on the staging side, as it turns out. And I just love the business of staging and the business of doing this home chat, which I had thought for a minute to give up, but I'm not willing to give up meeting and finding out about people and their creative genius and their magic, and love sharing it with the world. So, Tony, you heard my intro a little bit about you, but and again, I know you have many talents, and I want to highlight a couple that at the back end, but let's talk about your talent of writing. When did you first think that you wanted to write or had the idea about being an author?
Well, actually, my interest in writing came while I was in the military. Always had the interest in reading, but it fascinated me how words come together and make for a story and what have you. But while I was in the military, traveling around the world, really, I was a crew chief on a B-52 bomber. And we spent lots and lots of hours in the skies, during the Vietnam War. And I would write about my journeys. And I would. Okay, thank you. Thank you for thanking me. But that's when it really started piquing my interest. And I would write for the Stars and Stripes magazine. And I would land in Okinawa, for example, then I'd send that to the Stars and Stripe people in terms of the little visit that I made to Japan because of the weather. Those different stories like that popped in my head, and I started writing that way. And that was back in the mid '60s.
Mm-hmm. Wow. So let's talk about. I'd like to highlight the book, the recent book that is going to be made into a movie treatment. Tell us the title of that and the impetus. I know you shared with me, on the back end pre-show a little bit about how that came to be, and I thought it was really interesting. And again, for folks out there who have ever thought about writing a book, whether it's fiction or nonfiction, I thought it was interesting how. Tell us how that came about, where you kind of really weave in, fact with fiction. You don't really know where one ends and the next begins. So the name of the book first is?
The name of the book. Take a look.
Oh, let's see it. And let's
Right?
see. Yes, there
Can
we
you
go.
see that?
I was hoping to have, yes, The Promise at Coonville,
Yeah.
a fictional tale of a promise that could not be broken.
Yeah.
And we see two young boys there. Awesome. Awesome. So write
Yeah.
that down, folks. Now, is that available?
Yeah. That's the name of the book.
Is that available?
So what happened? Yes. Yes.
Okay, right now. Okay.
It's in paperback and right. Now the book is based upon some real life situation that happened when I was a kid. I met back in the 50s, early 50s. I was out looking for a Christmas tree at Christmas time down in the little bayou that ran in front of our house on the southeast side of Houston. And my mother sent me down there to get a Christmas tree. And while I was down there looking for one, I found one. I was about to chop it down. And coming down that hill was a little white boy. And he came down so that he can relieve himself. And so he startled me. Hey, what are you doing? He said, what are you doing there? And so I said, I'm here to do what I'm doing. And he explained what he was doing. We struck up a little chat, a little chat. And well, where do you live? And where do you live? Those kinds of things. And before long, I realized that his father had a little business fruit stand not too far from where we live. Is that yours? Yeah. So we had a little chat about what it would be like for me working there. He said, you want, so we became little friends just from that little chat. And he convinced his father to give me a job. And that was my first real job, is working at that little stand.
Wow.
So the book is based upon a friendship that we struck up. And just within a matter of a week or 2 weeks, we've made such good friends. We say we're going to be friends forever.
Oh.
We're gonna stay friends forever. And he gave me a little pocket knife, a little red pocket knife, to solidify his promise that we're going to be friends forever. And so this was the genesis of thought that came to me when I said, you know what, I need to write a book about that. And so that's how the story together. Now it's a fiction.
When you met this young boy, and then how old were you when the thought came to, I want to write a book about this?
Well, when I met the young boy, I was about 12.
Okay.
And he was about the same age.
Right.
And and so we had some encounters while I was working there with some of the customers. You got to realize now, this is back in the 50s in the Houston area. There was races were separated, and culturally, and we didn't interact. But this young boy and I did. His name was Robert, and so we interacted in a way that everybody else would look at it and say, how did this come about? How did y'all do that? Now, the thought about putting this together and writing didn't come to me until probably about 2014, 15, something like that. And I said, you know what? I think I want to revive that thought about how blacks acted back in the day happened as a result of them making a promise. That's how it all came together. And so when you're writing, particularly in fiction, you're just trying to bring stories to light. And so if that happened, then what if this happened? And if this happened, what if this happened? So all of that comes together to the point where you've got yourself a manuscript started, and it causes you to bring it together. And that's what happened with this particular book. And so I felt good about how it came together, even though it is fiction. The beginning of the book is not. The beginning of the book is nonfiction. And after that, things developed to the point where I have to
I just love that.
Everything back together.
Unfortunately, I didn't have an opportunity to receive the book, but I am going to order the book and read it. I'm really excited to delve into it. What is there? I know it's fiction, but would you say there's like a good, a feel good message somewhere in the book once you finish it? And if so,
Oh yeah.
how do you think
Oh,
that? I have a
oh
feeling there is, because I know you. If there is, how do you think that could affect people today? You know, fast forward,
yeah,
2023.
yeah,
How do you think that might affect people today in their thinking about how we can,
yeah,
meld together in a promise as humans?
yeah, yeah. As children are so innocent in terms of how they accept other people.
Yeah.
And, they're pure as gold. I mean, and so when you bring children together, no matter what color or creed or whatever, they're going to interact with each other like there's nothing ever wrong. I mean, in their lives, there
They
isn't
have
anything wrong.
no
Hey, this
judgment.
is
They
another
have
kid.
no
Let's play together.
prejudice, no
And so
judgment.
when you
Yes.
make That's right. That's right. All that stuff comes later. But in this book, what I tried to do was to show people how a purity of friendship can can and based upon basic values of truth and acceptance,
Mm.
loyalty. All of those things are embodied in this book. And so, in a simple way, I start off with a friend, and we exchanged little greetings. And he wanted to be a police officer, and I wanted to be a lawyer. And so, I start off that way, and he couldn't believe. Like, what do you mean you want to be a lawyer? I don't know any black lawyers. And I said, yes, there's a black lawyer on TV, and his name was Algonquin J. Calhoun on the Amos and Andy show. He was startled. Oh,
I
really?
remember that.
And
I don't
and then
remember
he
the
wanted to be
show,
a
but
police
I
officer.
remember the Amos and Andy show. I think
Yeah,
that was
yeah,
the
yeah,
very
yeah.
first
So I
black
told
show on
him
TV.
that's what I wanted to be.
Wow. Love it.
Absolutely. That was a show
Love
that
it.
everybody watched back in the day. Everybody watched it.
Mm.
So that can be learned here is that kids have imaginations. They have these feelings about what they want to be. They act. At one time, I wanted to be a cowboy because that's all I saw on TV. The lesson
Right.
here is that parents who are involved with young people need to pour into those young people aspirations and ideas and desires
Possibilities.
about where they
Yes.
can come, and give them the idea, yeah, so that they can begin to develop those in their own minds. And then the parents and those that are responsible for their growth have the responsibility to help develop those ideas. When I was 8 years old, my grandmother uh, told my mother that she knew that I was going to be an artist because I would always draw and doodle and do all kinds of things like that, color whenever we went to visit her up in Crockett, Texas. Then she says, this boy's going to be an artist. I had no idea. What's an artist? What are you talking about? But she
You see
planted that
what I
in
mean?
me. And so I kept on drawing and painting. Hmm. And because of that, it stuck with me. I didn't know I was going to make money at it, but I kept doing it. So the lesson is that when you're when you're young and innocent like that, and you come to know someone, and you make friendship, and you make promises that you the lesson is that you've got to keep those promises. In the book takes you through a journey with both of those guys. Okay, they separated after that first meeting, and they didn't come
Wow.
back together again until they both were grown. One
Oh,
did go
wow.
into the military, and the other one became a lawyer. And so the book talks about how the promises that were made when they were years old was eventually kept, and one ultimately saved the other's life. I won't tell you how, but you have to read the book to
Yeah.
find
Yeah.
out.
Yeah. Yeah. Gotta read the book.
Now, I want to warn you about. Okay, all right. I'm just going to tell you about the movies. When they make a movie from a book, you understand they use the book catalyst for the story for the movie,
Yeah.
and they make their own adjustments so that they can reach certain clientele or audiences. So I have a certain way in which I bring the book to the conclusion. You'll be pleased. I'll tell you that. You'll be pleased with the way the book ends and what happens with these two friends. You'll be pleased so far with the way the movie is coming together.
So I have a question,
So
Tony.
we're in the process right now of doing the screenplay.
Okay.
Okay. No. Your question.
Okay, I just wanted to ask you on that
Your
vein,
question is what?
You're in the process of doing the screenplay. How much creative license do you have? Because I know that's always, can be a struggle for your words in the book to be played out as you envision them in the screenplay. So did you capture, like, you have X%?
Right.
How does that work? A creative license, or how does that work?
Well, I tell you, as the owner of the copyright of the book and the story, I have the final say on how that final screenplay be presented.
Wonderful.
That is the hardest part right there. The hardest part is to have somebody else take your words and your story and actually bend it to what they think is necessary for an audience to be attracted to it. So they leave some parts of the book out, or they change some of the action within the book. And so I'll be honest with you, on this particular book, I blew up the first time I saw the screenplay. I blew up and I said, wait a minute. What are you talking about? Go, wait, no. And so you got negotiation. You got to, okay, I like this part right here. I don't like that part. And so it's like being a director as well.
Yes.
There's going to be a director for the movie itself, but I'm directing him in terms of how I'm going to how you're going to represent my book. And so I just had a meeting yesterday with a producer director. We were talking about it. So they make changes, based upon what they first present. And if it's not according to what you like, it's going to be some changes that has to be made.
Sure.
So they're trying to get to my story, but they're trying to present it to an audience. So they're trying to present it so that an audience, whoever we're trying to reach, will want to come see it and would enjoy it. And so we want to be able to have it so that they will tell their friends about it, who will go see it, and the residuals that come after seeing it the first time. So this is my first book to me deal. So
let's talk about that, because I'm sure people want to know, maybe who have written a book. Did you seek out for it to be made into a movie, or did someone contact you?
Okay. So what people need to understand, those who have the interest in telling a story, to really want it. And so when you are like me, I so much going on inside of my head that I want to see if I can put it into a format that really tells the story. Because again, when I was a kid, I loved reading stories about the past, the history and all. So what you do is you take all that energy that is inside of you. It comes to me in the middle of the night sometimes. You put it all together, and I did it for purposes of just relieving myself, my brain, of those stories and putting them into a format that other people might enjoy. So once you do that manuscript, there's help available for you to, like, for example, Amazon. You can self-publish that book, and more likely that's what you're going to have to do in the beginning, because nobody knows you. You're not going to take a chance on publishing a book of somebody they don't know. Right. So you go to KDP, that's Kindle Direct Publishing, and they will accept your manuscript, and they'll put it out there on Amazon, and people will see it. Now individuals out there who are looking for new talent, or looking for books. And you'll get lots and lots of calls if they like what they see, if it's a genre that they're interested in, and calls from people showing interest in your book, and to get it published in their fashion. Maybe they want to change the cover, or they want to make it so that they can present it to a traditional publisher. And so with me, I was inundated with phones, with calls, and I
I'll
still get
bet.
them now, even today. And I have to
I'll
tell
bet.
people
Just the
I'm
title and
already
the
committed,
jacket. Yeah, just the title and the
And
jacket
so,
alone. Yeah.
yeah,
So that's
yeah.
amazing. So
So you
your
try to make
probably
it
your
so that
biggest
it's
challenge
attractive
was trying to
to
figure
somebody's
out who.
attention.
Yes, probably your biggest challenge was trying to figure out who should you accept to take your baby and birth it
Yeah,
into a movie.
absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, and uh, I had some local people who I found out had an interest in the book. At the same time, I had an Academy Award winner who contacted me and said that the book was brought to his attention.
Wow.
And of course, you had to be careful about people who represent somebody who is well known in this industry. You have to check them out, right? You have to check.
Yes.
So I Googled the person and found out that, yeah, this is an Academy Award. There he is. He's presenting something to Tyler Perry, and there he is on the stage and the other stuff. So it came
Wow.
about at the same time that I found out there's some local people, one of which who also showed an interest in it. So I really just turned down the Oscar winning director and filmmaker to go local. And they were going to
Ah.
use local talent, and that interested me for this first book. I said, let's go local, and so that's where I
Yeah,
am with them.
and
We're working through the process now, but
you're a Houstonian, lifetime
mhm,
Houstonian also. So I'm sure that was important to you. So kudos to
yes,
you on that, to staying local. Yeah. So when do you think
yeah.
we're at time?
Mhm.
We got about 10 minutes, trying to keep this under 30. Is there anticipation yet in terms of a projected release date, or no? Not yet.
I'm sorry. In terms of what?
Is there a
In terms
projected
of what?
release of the movie date, or is it too preliminary for
Oh,
that?
yeah. We started our discussions and um, conversations about this movie back in June of last year, and at that
Ah,
time it was an an idea to try to get it before the big film people in this year, 2023. Oh,
mm,
here it is in January, the end of January, and we're still working through the process, particularly trying to get the manuscript together. And there's some other steps in there, deck pages and budget kind of stuff, reaching out to certain actors who they feel, producers feel that can fit this part, and what their schedule is. So I doubt if we're going to be able to make it in 23. It's very, very possible that we could come toward the end of the year for next year. But
for next
I would
year.
say it
Yeah,
probably would be in the film, in the streaming lines by 2024.
gotcha, gotcha. So what,
Mm-hmm.
Tony? Are there any tips, if you could give, say, 3 tips to a budding writer who is maybe struggling with either getting started, or are there any tips or habits that you might share with folks to get started? I guess I guess there's can be such a thing
Yeah,
they call writer's
yeah.
block. But share with our audience what you might share in that vein.
Yeah. Every writer gets a block occasionally, particularly if you the way I do. Look, there's different ways of writing. Different ways of writing. Some people have to get a pen and paper, and at some venues early on, that's what I did. I mean, I took pencil and paper with me to France. I was over in France studying sculpture. Um, I wrote. I was writing at that time. That book sitting over in my desk. I haven't pulled it out yet. But some people take that approach. Others can get their computer and where they go, they 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 write on their manuscript. Here's the deal: that if you have an idea about writing a story, don't wait till tomorrow. Just
Uh,
go ahead and start. You have to start
I love it.
because
Go ahead
once
and
you
start.
start, you got something to build on.
I love
Just
it.
start, right?
Just
Now,
start.
there's some people say that, well, I got stories that I want to tell, but I don't have time to do this and that. Take a recorder with you. Use your phone and record. Start recording. And you maybe not you don't have an idea where it's going to go just yet, but the ideas need to be recorded. So
I like that
my
idea.
suggestion would be stop procrastinating, get after it. Okay,
And just
yeah,
do it. And I
and
like that
the
idea of
ideas
a
will come to you in the
recording.
middle of the night.
Yes. Yes. So
Yeah,
that's what I was going to say.
well, it just
Some
depends
some
on.
people say, take an hour every day, and that's okay. That may work for the discipline, but I think I like what you're sharing because that creative genius, those magical thoughts of the story in your head, don't always come at a
Mhm.
regimented time on your calendar, and that's why I think the recording is
That's right.
awesome. Like you said, it could come to you in the middle of the bed. Have your recording, your phone. iPhones now have recording option, but record it when that juice
Yeah.
is flowing through you, I guess. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, there are times when I if I wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning and because something is on my mind, there are times when I climb out of that bed and I because it's so important that thought that came to me about a plot. Maybe I got to a what am I going to do with that character when he goes into that store? There's something I want to do with him, but I can't figure it out. And it may come to me for that morning. Oh, that's what I can do with him. So sometimes I get out of that bed and go to my computer in my office and I sit down and write that part of the screen. And I said, okay, I got that. Now I'll build on it later. So
Awesome.
it depends on how serious you are in terms of trying to bring that to light. Hmm. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I imagine when you're beginning, it's like it's the juice is just running through you all the time. So you never know when it's going to come
And
out. Go ahead.
yeah,
Sometimes you start to say,
sometimes you have more than one story in your head. More than one
ah,
story comes into to your head. So
mhm.
I right on my right now. I've got two more stories that I'm developing, and they're kind of developing at different levels. And so
ah,
I might go over there and write in that story. This one is about a throwaway baby, and over here I'm writing about something that happened in Louisiana. So if you're serious about writing, you don't always go down one lane and just simply stay with that. But
ah,
something else will pop in your mind, and you can start that one and just set it aside. Go back to it later. A serious writer then is going to be full of ideas that keep coming, and so you just have to
ah.
record them. You have to write them down because you can't keep it on your head. You got to get it out.
Get it out, get it out. So I doubt that you have ever used, but I've heard the term. Well, a couple things. An editor. Do you need an editor? Do you ever use or need a ghostwriter? What would you say about those?
Yeah. I mean, I just used the ghostwriter. Matter of fact, there's a book that's coming out now. It's called A Secret in Mount Ash, which takes place in Philadelphia. Uh, Big secret up there. It's 590 pages long. I use the ghostwriter here's the ghostwriter up there. When I write the manuscript, maybe 2 or 3 chapters, and I send it to them, and they will go through it and clean it up or suggest that maybe that scene would work better over here. Barack Obama and Michelle Obama use a ghostwriter. All those big name people who write memoirs, what have you, they use a ghostwriter.
See, and I didn't know
And so
that.
this
So,
book was,
yeah.
yeah,
And so it's
yeah.
just it's
People
just getting
don't
another
have
set of
time to.
eyeballs on it, I guess.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, you don't always formulate the sentences exactly right, and
Right.
you don't have time to go back and change anything. Just put it down on paper, and then not always is it advisable to use a ghostwriter, but in this case, I'm using one for the first time, and because the enormity of this book and the seriousness of the book, there's a lot of truth, nonfiction, but it's really, again, coming out of my head. A lot of characters, so let them pull it together for me on the other end, and check my spelling and check the sentence structure, all of that,
Yes.
so I don't have to worry about it.
That's perfect. I'm reading a book right now, actually for the second time, No Matter What, by Lisa Nichols. She's noticed for being in the movie The Secret. And I just adore her. She has such a magnificent story. But she talks about, she gets very real in No Matter What, telling her life and her struggles. But,
Hmm.
she must have 20 pages of thank yous in the front. And it sounds like she did use folks for that, for grammar. She was told in high school, oh, don't ever write, don't ever this, just putting her
Oh
down.
yeah,
And she had it all up here. She's like this
yeah,
magnificent speaker, but maybe she doesn't have it grammatically exactly right, but she hits you right here where it counts.
yeah,
So that was a good example of her using
absolutely.
probably more than one, yeah, to get her book across. Yeah. So I
But
love
you're
that.
always
So
going to somebody to edit the book.
that's what I was going to say. Editor next. So how does an editor come into
You're going to
play?
always, yeah, yeah. I mean, in the Ghost, they do the editing itself, and they do the promotions, they do all of that, the development of a website, and matter of fact, my website on this book is going to be canthonyshermanbooks.com, where in another week or so it'll be up and live, and people will be able to go. Audio book is going to be available. They'll be able to do everything that I would need Amazon to do. You'll be able to do that on my website,
And that's through the
canthonyshermanbooks.com.
ghostwriter.
But
That's
an
through the
editor,
ghostwriter. Right?
yes, yes, that's right. You got to pay for that, but you got to pay
Sure.
for it. But they're
Of course.
professional. That's what they
Yeah.
do. But just a regular editor is going to be necessary to relieve you of trying to figure all that stuff out. There's Grammarly. You can use Grammarly to help correct some of the words, and they suggest words that could be substituted for others. But you're going to need more than that. Take it seriously if you want to get to a traditional company. You're going to need somebody who is professional at looking at words and how they're formed to help you get that book as clean and pristine as possible. You need an editor for sure,
So Tony, a
and you
question on
can
that.
Google that and
The
do it.
ghostwriter would come first, and then once they've helped you tweak this and that, then the editor would be the final before you would go to, let's say,
No, no, the
self-publishing.
ghostwriter. No, the ghostwriter does all that. The
Oh,
ghostwriter does the editing as well.
oh, okay,
I mean, that's kind of like a one-stop shop. They
gotcha.
do the promotions for you, the marketing, yeah, the marketing of the book, and they have
Gotcha.
some strategies too about book sales, a national way of selling books through bookstores, through Barnes and Noble, Amazon, Book Baby, all those outlets,
Wonderful.
and they
Now,
go
how would
to
you go
to
about
some
talking?
festival,
I
book
imagine the first
festival.
thing the first thing you wanted to do was to copyright your book, right? So you probably had to do that before you went to a ghostwriter, correct? Even though it wasn't completed yet?
They do that as well.
Oh, they do the copywriting as well.
They do that for you as well.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Wow. One-stop shop.
A to Z.
Okay,
You just give them,
so
they get from
Ghostwriter, for those of you who want to write, Google the Ghostwriter. That's going to be your one-stop shop. And I'm listening to all this because I've got a couple of books in my head, like many of you probably do. And, you know, in this last segment of my journey on this planet, I want to leave with a book or two to, you know, for the planet. Don't know what it is yet, but
sure.
You are going to be at a book signing and questionnaire. Is it next weekend?
Yeah.
February.
Yeah. It's going to be the 4.
February 4th.
At Missouri City. Missouri City Library.
Missouri City Library. Let me put this in here.
FM 1090. 2234. Yeah, it's
What
Missouri
time,
City Library, FM 2234. It's going to be from 1 o'clock. It's going to be an hour presentation. I'll talk candidly about all of this that I'm talking to you about. But I also have my artwork is going to be there. And then I'm going to, you know, spend another 35, 40 minutes, maybe up to an hour of question and answers. How do I do this and how do I do that? It'll be hands-on. And
so head out to Missouri City Library February 3rd.
Look forward to getting everybody out there. Come on out.
Yeah, get a copy of Tony's book and find out a little bit more.
February 4th.
February 4th. He is also an accomplished artist. In fact, I'm going to put it on my action item list to go to Missouri City and see the only bronze exterior statue created by Tony himself. And where is that located? Do you have an address or like a cross street of where that's located, Tony?
Yeah. Well, it's in Missouri City at Cartwright Road and 1092. Cartwright Road and FM 1092. That's the police and fire headquarters.
It's called 1092?
In front of the police and fire headquarters. Cartwright? Yeah, it's FM 1092.
FM 1092.
I'm ashamed for it. I can't think of it right now, but
that's okay. It's in front of the police and
FM
fire.
1092.
And fire. And
in front of the police and fire headquarters.
Give us a little teaser. What is it? What is the statue of?
Well, okay, now that's a life-size fireman, police officer, a little boy, and a little girl, and it's called the Protectors. It's it's what they do for us. They protect us and serve us. And the little boy in there at the time was my son when he was in elementary school, and the little girl come from the same school. I have another one that I just completed called Lauren Anderson, you know, the Houston Ballet principal ballerina. I just completed a life-size statue of her, bronze.
And where's that going?
It's going to be in front of the Edison Arts Foundation building on Fuquay and Chimney Rock in Houston. Yeah, it's not installed yet, but I've completed it.
Well,
and it's Lauren Anderson.
Keep me posted on that because I would love, if
I will.
Schedule permits, I would love to go there on installation day and do some kind of a video. Yeah, I would love that. Yeah. You are a talent. I don't know where you find time to do all this, Tony, but I love your energy. I love your heart. Thank you so much for sharing with our audience today. So many jewels, of your magic and your creative genius. You've got a lot in there. Is there any?
Well, let me tell you one more thing.
Yes.
I'll tell you one more thing.
Yes, sir.
One more thing I'll tell you. I wake up every day and I say, if I got one more blessing, I'd have to give it away. Okay? Waking up every day is a blessing.
I love
And
it.
so if I
Isn't
got
it?
one more, I have to give it away. I'm full of blessings, and I'm very thankful for what God has given me. And I want to share it with the rest of the people to enlighten and to uplift every day. Every day.
I love it.
Okay?
I love it. You are a blessing. You have uplifted us all today. I love your heart. And, you know, as we know, the more blessings we have, the more we have to give away. And that's a perfect segue into my sign off. And that is to, you know, I usually say stay. I'm going to say for 2023, and particularly for this day only is all you have to think about, because it is a blessing. Like Tony said, be positive, be hopeful today. And thank you for being connected to us today. And we'll see you in 2 weeks, where we're going to talk about love. And my business partner and I are going to share some of the top books, because we love reading too, that have impacted not only our lives, but lives of our children, our grandchildren, our kids, and beyond. So you're going to want to stay tuned or tune in for that on the last Friday of February. Actually, not the last Friday. Is it the last Friday? Well, anyway, we'll be doing a notice. Thanks again, Tony. A pleasure, and thank you for sharing everything
Thank
with
you.
us today. Stay on. I'm going to disconnect from live, but I want to chat with you just a second. So anyway, we'll see y'all. Have a fabulous weekend. And by the way, you will be able to post many of the sites, but you'll be able to get all the contact information, websites, etc., on our YouTube channel. We've posted most of them so that you can see Tony's art. Go purchase his book at Amazon right now, and stay tuned for the movie. Take care, guys.